Alright, I want to talk about movement in pub battles. This might be especially useful for those who are used to hex and counter games. For our examples today, I'll be using Desai's blocks and O'Reilly's blocks from the Marengo game. To begin with, for the purposes of our example here, assume this is clear terrain. This is how far each unit can move. Now you might be wondering, there's a 1/4 inch of space there. Can that unit attack if they move up there? By the rules, no. But here's the thing. You can't move each unit with the precision of a brain surgeon. Look at these. I'm just trying to grab these and I'm already bouncing them around. You move them forward, maybe they're touching this one, and then there, I've pushed them some there. And my whole point is, the pieces get jostled around. They're not perfect. So what most people do that use this, if you're playing miniatures and you're moving with a movement device that measures your movement, you kind of go with what's close enough. You know, you're here, they're there. Okay, if you're going to pay for these hills you got to move over, you say, no, you're too far away. But maybe they're that far away. I'd probably let them attack. It's too hard to try to keep everything perfectly in line and know exactly what the difference is. Now, the other reason that fudging is pretty much okay if you have to fudge a little bit is you look at the rate that you can move in an hour and a half. The pub battles movement system is based on the Kriegspiel movement system, which was designed by Prussian general staff in the early 19th century, who worked with units of this size and knew how far they could move in 90 minutes. So guess what? This is a pretty accurate approximation of how far this unit can move in 90 minutes. But you've also got this to consider. These units side by side. This unit over here. 90 minutes. There you go. 90 minutes. And now they're going to fight a whole battle. It's not a problem with pub battles. Every war game does this. You move your full movement, and if at the end of it you're in contact, you're fighting a battle. Maybe the battle only lasts a few minutes. Maybe it rages for quite some time. It is the conceit of war games that this all balances out. And we're all totally on board with that, because the alternative would be way too complex. It would no longer be a fun game. And you can only allow for so many things. For instance, taking this example again, what's the difference between this unit, who started way back here, and he's moving all the way through. So all he does for these 90 minutes is pass through. He never stopped, he just passed through, but that's how far he gets in 90 minutes. Compared to this unit, they're waiting. They receive orders. Now they're not all like track stars bent over waiting for the pistol to start off at a jaunt. They got to receive orders. They got to interpret the orders. They got to give the orders to the brigade leaders. And the brigade leaders on down. Everyone's going to move out. They get all that sorted. They move their full movement allowance, and they end up in contact, and then they fight a battle. Meanwhile, this unit, which is just passing through, has gotten no further. And my point here with all this is that there's certainly plenty of room to allow for this unit getting this close and saying, you know what, that's basically good enough. Close enough, we're not going to really argue about it. The only exception to this rule that I ever see used is, let's say these guys want to be on this hillside, and they measure it and make sure that they're far enough back that they're beyond. We're crossing rivers here, we're crossing a hillside, so they can only move 2/3. So they've carefully positioned themselves beyond the 2/3 move. Gentleman's game, you say, look, I'm staying more than 2/3 away. This unit can't get to me this turn. And you know what? Cool. You just go with that. You're flexible. It's hard to be too exact. And it just slows down the game, and it's just not that fun. When you're playing a gentleman's game, you always assume, okay, is this okay? And they are perfectly within their rights to say, no, it's not. And you go with it. But you know what goes around comes around. So if you tell the guy, hey, no, you're not close enough, then when it's your turn and you're this far away, he's going to say, guess what? You're not close enough. So it all works out. Close enough is close enough. The other thing that really, and this, I'm bringing all this up because this dramatically speeds up the game. As can often happen in a game, you're this close, this guy wants to back away. Maybe because there's other things around, this unit's over here, he can't stop right there. He actually wants to go like this. Rather than trying to figure out, okay, well here's half, this is a free move, and he can move like this, and he can reach. If you can stay within a third, you can pretty much do whatever you need to do to get wherever you need to get a third away. It just speeds everything up. You're not expected to sit there and try to figure out exactly how this guy turns around, yada yada yada. You know, as I was editing this video, I saw another question come up that people might have. And that was the example where I showed the unit turning around and backing away from a unit that had contacted it. The other thing to realize is that the chit draw in pub battles simulates simultaneous movement. So while two units might look like they're running into each other, what you actually look at is how does it look at the end of the turn. You might wonder, well, why didn't this unit move this unit didn't move all the way. It stopped because it hit that unit. That's true. But the chit draw says he went first, he ran into that unit, something delayed them from making the attack because at the end of the 90 minutes, they were not successfully attacking their opponent. Any number of delays could have come up. There's a reason snafu is a military word. Everything goes wrong. It's not easy to pull off an attack. Furthermore, actual attacks that are resolved in the combat phase, that combat is the combat that results in one combatant or the other being reduced to spent, retreating, and possibly being eliminated. But there's a lot of other combat. When you move up to a unit and that unit moves away, that could simply be a fighting withdrawal. You were unable to come into contact with them to successfully attack them. They somehow foiled your intentions. There's lots of combat that goes on that does not result in significant loss. Pub battles is very general. It says the unit's fresh, the unit's kind of beaten, the unit's out is eliminated. There's a little wiggle room in between all that. And that's all that is covered in the chit draw and in the movement where things don't always work the way you'd like them to work. If they did, it wouldn't be a very accurate simulation of what it's like to command an army. Another thing that I've found helps when explaining this movement to people who are used to hex and counters, everything here, you move a full movement or you lose a third because you're moving through terrain and you move 2/3. You have to stay a third away. Imagine that these are hexes. Distance across a hex is 1/3 of a move. So you can move 3 hexes in a turn. Go through terrain, you can only move 2 hexes in a turn. You have to stay 1 hex away. Think of it like a ZOC. Stay out of their zone of control. And again, we're not gonna really, if you watch my videos, sometimes I'm this close, sometimes I'm that far away. It all works. Let me know if you have any questions. Those of us who've played war games for a long time realize that if you want to be really picky about the rules, you can pretty much bog down and make any game unplayable. On the other hand, if you're really eager to play the game, even if you don't like the system, you'll make it work. You won't get hung up on the details. When I play pub battles, it's like two friends sit down and they're saying, okay, here we've got this map, we've got these units, let's come up with some rules. Okay, they can move about that far, take a third off if you're going to move, and you start playing, you just move around. If you want to play the game and redo the battle, recreate the battle, you don't sweat the small stuff. Pub battles has robust rules that cover everything. But if you want to question everything in any game, you can make it unplayable. On the other side, if you really want to play the game, any game is playable.